seats up in the back here on the right if you need to fill in, if we've run out on this side. So please come on in. Just give everyone another minute here to find a spot. There's more seats on this side. Okay. Oh, you guys all quieted down. Okay. Well, thank you so much all for being here, for coming here tonight. We are so excited to finally premiere the Scranton Stories, Oral Histories, and Portrait Photographs. My name is Julie Schumacher-Cohen. I'm Assistant Vice President for Community Engagement and Government Affairs at the university, and very proud to also be the Project Director for the Scranton Story, Our Nation's Story project, which has run now for the last couple of years. As we're getting underway, I want to first acknowledge and honor the original inhabitants and nations of this land, the Lenape, the Munsee, the Shawnee, and the Susquehannocks. And I want to note that due to the realities of forced removal and cultural erasure, the oral histories do not include an Indigenous participant. Instead, we encourage you to watch the fall 2022 lecture by Curtis Zuniga, who is an enrolled Delaware Tribe member and co-director of the Lenape Center, who was here with us last fall. And he provides an in-depth look at the impacts of displacement and the ongoing legacy of racism and colonization. So, over the last 2 years, this community-wide Scranton Story, Our Nation's Story project has looked at themes of history, identity, and belonging through a series of humanities-based programs. We've explored the city's indigenous heritage, industrial-era growth and economic struggles, immigrant populations, past and present, the Black history and experience of the region, and the religious tapestry of the city across neighborhoods. Our conviction has been that Scranton is an important place from which to explore the aspirational ideals of our nation at a critical time of increased societal polarization, and as we look ahead to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the United States in 2026. Who are we as Scrantonians? Who are we as a nation? And how can we work together to forge a more just and pluralistic democracy? The Oral History Initiative helps to bring us full circle on those questions, to update and expand the story of Scranton, to honor longstanding community heritage, and to bring into focus underrepresented and undertold stories and histories in order to stitch together a more full local and national narrative. The 25 Scranton stories include a total of 33 local residents who have either lived or worked in Scranton. They have strong ties to the city related to their family, their racial or ethnic community, their civic involvement, their work, or their faith group. Some have been in Scranton for generations now, and some have more recently arrived. There are teachers, civic leaders, artists, small business owners, neighborhood volunteers, younger and older adults, multi-generational families, and more. The interviewees shared their Scranton story across various aspects of their background and their life experience, and they shared their hopes for the city and for the nation. In the exhibition that you will view this evening, and so just to be clear, we're having the panel discussion here, and then we're going to walk a block down to Highland Hall on the 4th floor, which is the Hope Horn Gallery. You will see the work of photographer Byron Maldonado, who produced portraits of each interviewee in a place of their choosing, and you'll be able to read excerpts of their interviews and then access links to watch them. They're all available now on YouTube. And then we will also have a room where we'll be playing all of the interviews, excerpts from them adjacent to the gallery. I'm immensely grateful, I cannot say enough, to the 33 individuals who participated in this project. They have truly shared from the heart. They don't gloss over hard experiences that they've had, and yet each in their own way, they express an affection for this city, for this region that we all call home. In that way, I think the Oral History Project provides a guidebook for what it means to both love our community and love our nation, and to challenge it, to keep forming that more perfect union by doing the work of participating, of caring, of listening and learning, of finding joy, and making space for complicated and nuanced conversations. This is the kind of engagement that can help make our communities and our democracy thrive. So I think you are in for a treat this evening. We will also have food, not here, down at the gallery. But these stories are really beautiful. The photographs are beautiful. And so we are hopeful that in this time tonight, you'll begin to get a preview of all of them. We are not able to play all of them because altogether they're 3 hours. So we weren't sure that you would have the stamina for that, but you'll be getting previews of them throughout the evening. So let me just share briefly how the next hour will go. Tonight, we're glad to have Mayor Paige Cognetti here, who will share a greeting. Then I'm going to share a trailer that's about 5 minutes that provides a snapshot of the Scranton stories. I want to especially thank Posture Interactive, who did the videography for all the videos that you'll be seeing. Then we'll have a panel discussion of some of the key partners, university and community partners and colleagues that made the project possible. And then we will leave a little time for questions. I want to share a few very important thank yous. I could be here all night on that, but let me just do a few. Very grateful to the National Endowment for the Humanities. Of course, this is funded through a federal grant. We absolutely could not have done that without their support. And also the Scranton Area Community Foundation and Lackawanna Heritage Valley, who offered local funding to add to that federal support. I want to thank the Oral Histories Committee that was comprised of university and community partners who've really been working on this for 2 years. This has been over a 2-year project to turn an idea into a reality. I want to give a special thanks to Kimberly Crafton, who you'll hear more from on the panel, who served as the Oral Histories Coordinator. Together we had the joy of conducting and curating these interviews, and she brings incredible care and attention to the work that she does. To Byron Maldonado, who you'll also hear on the panel, who again enlivened this project through his beautiful, vibrant, and insightful photography. And thanks to Tyler Brady, he is also part of the committee. He created the abstracts that help to summarize each of the interviews, and then Dr. Darlene Miller-Landing, who directs the Hope Horn Gallery. She's not with us because she's still doing stuff at the gallery, so you'll see her if you make it down to the gallery. So at this time, I'd like to welcome Mayor Paige Cognetti. We really appreciate you being here on this Friday evening.
Thank you, Julie. Everything that you do ends up beautiful. So this is no surprise that you are all in for such a treat this evening, and this is such a special project. So thank you. Also smart to have the snacks at the second stop. It's really wonderful to see all of you today and see so many familiar faces, and I'm really excited to see you on the screen and throughout this project and as this endures in the future. So today we're facing a lot of great challenges as a nation, and right here in Scranton, I'm working with many of you in this room to sustain our democratic institutions, to build a more equitable society broadly, but also right here in Scranton, and to protect what we have here in Scranton and everywhere from the effects of climate change. To us, it's all related, right? We're trying to preserve our history, recognize the inequities in our history, and build a better future going forward. And that's across our climate, that's across our economy, that's across just the interaction that we have with each other as neighbors. So that's hugely important to us in the city of Scranton and how we're trying to build the city structure going forward. For this project, there's such a diverse perspective in our city. I think it really is captured here. This will display a broad array of experiences on, accessibility, digital platform, like how that can spread the story throughout. People will be able to access this throughout the world. A lot of folks, more than many of you realize, are looking at Scranton. They're either from here or somebody that they know is from here. They're going to be able to access this on YouTube and across the world, which is really, really exciting. It's also a huge honor for Scranton to have received support for this from the National Endowment for the Humanities. The National Endowment for the Humanities is the only federal agency dedicated to supporting the study of humanities, including language, literature, ethics, history, religion, and philosophy. So these interviews support a fundamental building block of our civil society that people participate in. And it's something that, sometimes I think we worry is starting to get lost in the shuffle. So it's very important that we continue to do this. So as you'll soon see, these 33 interviews offer absolute different perspectives from origins, identities, and they're all Scranton stories. And that what binds us together, our past, our present, and our future. It's very important that we continue to build that narrative and make sure people understand, as Julie spoke about, the land that we stand on is not represented in this room, right? The people were kicked off of this land, and we need to be able to go back and help each other understand, and learn for ourselves what that means and how we move forward from that that very difficult history. So I'm excited. I know you guys are excited. I know in this room we're all like-minded probably and understand the history of this. What we have to do is take these stories, take a night like this, take this community and this project, and move it forward into our friends, our family, our neighbors, because not everybody else has the bandwidth to think about these things. Not everybody has the luxury to come on a Friday evening and enjoy this type of community. It's on us to continue to help other people access these types of stories and this history and understand that it's okay to look backward. It's no one's fault. It's just something we've got to move forward with as a community. I know there's a lot of politicization about these types of things, of looking back, and we just can't let it get politicized. We've got to move forward as a country and as a community. And part of that, I think that's important, is continuing to focus on our democracy, continuing to realize that really, from my official vantage point, it's never about who you vote for, it's that you vote. We have a lot of work to do to defend our democracy, and we can't defend that democracy, we can't move forward as a nation if we don't have all these pieces. So thank you all so much, and Julie, as always, thanks for shepherding a great project.
Thank you so much, Mayor, for being here, for all that you're doing for our city. So now I'm going to introduce so this is a trailer. So this is about a 5-minute video that's just going to give you an introduction to kind of the scope of the interviews and some of the questions that we asked. So we hope that you will enjoy it.
Stories of love and loves that I lost. I've got stories of bridges I've burned and I've crossed.
Everyone speaks about the uniqueness of the friendships in Scranton.
There are a lot of philosophers in this valley. There really are.
It's definitely becoming more of a melting pot.
And they're looking for jobs and to settle their young family, like they're coming to Scranton.
Entonces digo, bueno, probemos a ver si es que hay un lugar mejor para criar a nuestra hija.
This country is almost like my country, so if I move here, maybe my family, they will become safe and they become happy.
We live in a rich, culturally rich part of the world. What has been created here it's really important.
I have never experienced anything in my life that compares to Scranton politics.
People live hard lives, and especially here.
I see Scranton as being one of the breeding grounds for the healing.
This just seemed like a second chance town.
I always said the reason why I live in Scranton is the people. It's not the weather, it's not the beautiful roads, it's the people.
I'm born in Scranton, grew up in Scranton, went to Scranton High School, proud graduate of West Scranton, and continue to live in West Scranton.
Soy de Scranton, aunque tengo como mi nacionalidad muy arraigada.
And he said, Nana, you talk about Wales an awful lot. I said, because I want you to remember.
I cannot forget where I came from. To be a human is to remember.
At times, people make me feel like I don't belong. And when they kind of give me that feeling, I'm like, son of a gun. My family's been here since the 1800s, maybe longer than their family.
I would love to see the city be more cognizant about how people with disabilities add to the conversation, no matter what the disability is.
I would hope that our young people get to know more about the cultures.
See, everybody comes from other countries, and I hope that we can accept each other and try to be together and help.
We as a city still need to step up a bit more
and helping our community realize that you are safe here and you deserve to be safe.
When things disappoint me about Scranton, I try to think, what can I do? What can I do?
Everyone knows and respect the United States because said United State, not divided state.
That's my dream, that some of these divisions might begin to break down.
And I see what people are doing to people who are gay or have a different color, different skin color, and it worries me.
I don't ever see racism truly ever going away, but my hope for the future is that there's more inclusion.
To be more at peace with people, with all the violence going on lately. I feel like we need to have more peace in this.
Coming here and getting a citizenship and being called an American, it's a big deal.
That dream still exists. It exists in the eyes of the kids who sit in front of me. There's no doubt in my mind that that's the reason their families brought them here.
And I'm saying, what is your excuse? You can speak, you can sing, you can do whatever you want to do. What have you done lately? That's where I'm coming from.
I don't care who you vote for, just go vote. The more people that vote is what makes democracy work.
How much are you contributing to making this union much more perfect? Are you voting? What are you doing? What are your contributions in preserving this democracy?
En las noticias ves muchas, ¿verdad?, cosas que dividen a las comunidades por razones políticas, ideologías, ¿verdad? Pero al fin y al cabo, la única raza en sí que existe es la humanidad.
So I want to say two things. Oops. Of course it will do that. Okay. So you were introduced in that trailer to some original Scranton-based music. The song is Life Stories, and that is written by Scranton musicians Clarence Spady, Andy Pace, and William Weller. And that was a wonderful effort that was facilitated by Kimberly Crafton to bring this song into the project, and a little serendipity, which we've had along the way in many different ways. But you were also introduced to all 33 of the interviewees, many of whom are here tonight. Not everybody is here. I want to take a moment now to recognize them because their grace and their vulnerability and really just their openness and their kindness and just in participating and being with us in this project. So if you are one of the 33 interviewees, can you please let us know where you are in the room? And this is the first time, so Kim and I and others who were part of the interviews, we've met all of everyone, obviously, but we haven't all met each other or been all in the same room. So this is really exciting tonight. And so part of the exhibit and the reception time will be a chance for people to meet each other. So we're glad about that. So now we have a chance to move on to the panel. And I'm going to introduce my colleagues now and ask them to come up to the table. And actually, let me do this. Let's see if I can get that right. Okay, so nobody will be seeing that. Okay, so you all can come on up. I'm going to introduce you as you come up. So we'll have Kimberly Crafton, who is the founder and director of Crafton Cultural Management. She has led cultural, tourism, heritage, and art projects in the region for over 2 decades. And as I mentioned earlier, she is the Oral Histories Coordinator. This project would not have been possible without Kim's amazing work. So really would like to... Next is Byron Maldonado. He is a native of Guatemala. He has more than 20 years of experience with photography, with his work being published and exhibited in multiple places and spaces. You saw a preview of his photography with that wonderful last collage photo, but when we move to the exhibition, you will especially get to see these wonderful photographs. Next is Glynis Johns, founder and CEO of the Black Scranton Project, which is a local nonprofit and heritage initiative dedicated to archiving and celebrating Scranton's African American history and culture. And Glynis was part of the interviews with many of our African American interviewees and also curated a particular part of the exhibition that you'll see this evening as well. Alejandra Mariquin is a community organizer for Geisinger Commonwealth School of Medicine. She has long supported the region's immigrant communities through her civic involvements, and she was especially involved with the interviews of the Hispanic and Latino interviewees. So grateful to have Alejandra. And last but not least, Marianne Savakinas has served as Executive Director of the Lackawanna Historical Society, our campus neighbor, since 1997, and she knows a little bit about history and stories, just a little bit. So thank you, Marianne. So what we wanted to do is I'm going to kind of ask them each a question to talk a little bit more in depth about how this project came together. And then we will have a chance for your comments and your questions, and including the interviewees if you want to share something as well. So I'm going to start off with Kim. It has been a long journey to these 25 stories. If you want to talk a little bit about what are the most important lessons and takeaways that you would like to relay at this point from your vantage point. And is that working for you? You have to turn it on.
Thank you all for coming out tonight, and we have this beautiful scene behind us of the valley that we all live in and call home or call our workplace or call our place of worship. So this is really exciting to see everyone here, or your playground, because we have nature and we have all these cool arts events and sports. So thank you for all being intertwined in all of these wonderful ways that we do over time, all of our circles that intersect. To be asked to assist in telling the story of Scranton in 25 short pieces is like climbing up a glass mountain. You're just, there's the people say, oh, how do you propose to do that? And I said, well, I propose to fail miserably, because how on earth do you really get the breadth of a city like this, that from its inception has been the most incredible cultural, faith-based, ideological melting pot that it still is today. And the idea of how do we dissect a person's life, let alone the life of a city. We are all from a neighborhood. We are from a faith base. We are from a vocation. We are from educational backgrounds. We are from different countries. We are so many different things inside of ourselves. And how do we just look at these little segments? Well, we look at it by celebrating the mosaic inside of us and the mosaic that we all create together. And so in these 25, we never wanted to look at it as an exclusive, like these are 25, the most blah, blah, blah. We wanted it to be, this is a really beautiful segment of an enormous mosaic of so many more stories, and also to help bring forward the other stories that have been done by partners over the time before us, many wonderful projects that are happening now that also celebrate other Scranton stories. So that was kind of how we went about it. By public interaction over the course of 2 years, you might have seen us at we brought our Scranton Story booth to all of these different festivals across the city, and inviting people and letting them know, please tell others that we want to hear from you. At the end of a 2-year period, we're hoping to have a really beautiful communal voice of like a snapshot. Who are we at this moment in time as Scrantonians, people that live and work in Scranton? And what are our hopes still for the future, not only of our city, but as you saw there, the whole concept of democracy. And the second we would mention that, it almost gets a laugh, because I think we all feel how fragile it is. And yet the strength of the idea is what comes through in every one of these videos that you'll see. And the thing that comes through even more is that the job lands squarely on each one of us. I can't think of a single interviewee, as I'm looking out at your faces, that didn't just dig into that idea. You know, thinking back on their own stories brought a lot of joy and a lot of, I don't even know what the words are. You'd probably have better words than I would for what it meant to look back over your life and think about, what is my story? But then to think about, what do I hope for the city? That's a hard question. And then to ask even deeper, what are your hopes for our nation? Which makes you question the whole concept of democracy, the concept of where we are now versus what the aim of that bedrock of democratic thought was. So this has really been the process, and to be able to preserve the full length of each of these 25 interviews, I think was very exciting to each of the interviewees, that this conversation that we each enjoyed would be preserved for posterity at the Weinberg Memorial Library. And thank you to each of you that consented to allow that. That was really beautiful. And yet also these versions that we found the thread kind of going through each one of those hour-long interviews and followed it in an excerpted interview of about 8 to 10 minutes. These are also really beautiful, and the hope, as Mayor Cognetti said, is that it will be shared so that over time, in this ripple effect, each of these videos helps our minds to open just a little bit more and understand the breadth of the experiences of our city. We can't ever look at it through one set of eyes. Look at all the faces here, look at all the eyes here, and we begin to recognize how beautiful this thing is that we all live inside of, this idea of Scranton, this idea of community, and this idea of what is our responsibility as we go forward into the next phase of our nation. So.
Thank you, Kim. And again, thank you so much. There's not enough thanks to go around for what Kim has done in this project. So next we're going to hear from Byron. I wanted you to talk a little bit about what your experience was of taking the portrait photographs and learning about each person through that, what the location meant to them because they chose a place that was meaningful to them, and sort of seeing the city through their eyes.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here. It was a big honor to be part of this project. I think it was very impact for me to go to individual locations to take the photos and meet all these wonderful people. Of course, I'm not from here. I just moved here like 3 years ago, and going to each location that they were sending me to go and take the photos of, it was like, I really don't know that location. I don't know what to expect about the location. So it was a little bit of a challenge because, I mean, as a photographer, you need to prepare yourself mentally and see what you need to bring. But I took that challenge and I go to each location. I met each of you who are here. And I was wondering, like, actually, when I take the photos of people, my work is based mostly in Guatemala, and I met people from Guatemala from my town, and I asked questions about how is that location important for them. And that happens here. So when I go to the locations, I meet the person, I ask, like, why you select this location? Why this location is so important for you? And they start open to me, telling me about the story, how they move over here, how this location means so much to them. And it was very like an eye-opening to me because when it's a small city and people love the city and one little piece of the city means too much to them, it got me, you know, like it's like I feel like part of the city of Scranton, because they are sharing something special to me. And there are so many locations that I went. I mean, actually, we're 27 locations that I went, and each one is so unique, so beautiful, and the stories that the people tell me how they get here, what is so important for them to stay here and make a living here, and why they move from other cities and establish here with their families. So it was beautiful. I met some people from different countries that they established themselves here. I went to take photos at the marketplace with a family that I was speaking in English to them in the phone, and I remember the name. I said, like, you speak Spanish? I said, yes. So we started speaking in Spanish. So that's more easy for me because the communication is, English is my second language, so it's a little more difficult sometimes for me. But we navigate through the photo shoots, and it was wonderful to meet all these people, all wonderful people that they selected, and the locations again, like so many locations in Scranton that some I didn't know, other that I had been, and every time that I have that they send me a location, I go to Google Maps and look at the location and see what I'm gonna be taking photos in, and then prepare myself. And some other location that I didn't have any idea. One time going to one of the locations, I got lost. So I ended in Dunmore instead to be in Scranton. And I said, why I'm here? So the map didn't recognize that location, so I need to go back to Scranton and find it. And when I go there, like, it's a beautiful temple. And I was like, how this place is here. Like you see it, you drive by, and you never see that, you never know that it's a beautiful place. I went to one location in West Scranton, and they were telling me that they were from Wales. And I said, okay, that's wonderful. Like, it's a beautiful place. It's a great church, and I see all the windows, and they told me that they, back in the years, they ship all the windows to here. So this city has so much history that is hiding in there. But when you go there and you see it, and you are taking photos of people who love those locations, and now you know the history, it means so much. I think the photograph, it gets more interesting because the history who is behind the photograph, the subject, the history. So you need to put all together so that way you can make a wonderful photograph. So thank you to all of you who let me photograph you and take your photos in those beautiful locations. And thank you for sharing all these wonderful life experience that you have.
And just a very quick follow-up. This was an organic outcropping of the project we did not expect. We had hoped just to give a photo as a thank you for your participation, each one of you, in this location that was so deeply meaningful to you. But when we began to hear from Byron about the depth of why you chose these locations, it was clear to us that this was another way to document how much place means to us as we go through our daily lives. So thank you, Byron, and thank you, all of you, for what you brought to us through your places of your heart.
And so at the exhibition, you will see the name of the person, the location that they're at, and the reason why they chose that. So you'll get a window into all of those. And I can't say enough about Byron's patience through this process. We would send him all different places, and sometimes we'd change our mind, or we're doing it tomorrow, or we're doing it this time. And as a, still a somewhat newcomer to the city, so thank you so much, Byron, for your work with the project. So Glynis, you have already done a lot of groundbreaking work in our city to share the story of Black Scrantonians, dispelling the idea that it is a transient community, the African-American community here. So just talk a little bit about what's been important to you about curating the Black Stories component of the Oral History Initiative.
Thank you for the introduction, Julie, and thank you everybody who participated in this project, especially all of the interviewees and all of my colleagues that are here. It's been a quick 2 years, honestly. But for those who don't know who I am, I'm a public historian, sociologist, and lover of Scranton. So I've been spending the past handful of years trying to archive the local Black history of Scranton. It's going to be a project that outlives me, but any opportunity that I have to try and document our stories is something that I love to do. So when Julie approached me with this idea and Kimberly approached with this idea, I thought this would be a great way to start archiving our stories. The African American community here has been pretty much left to be invisible since the 1800s, and a lot of the places that we claim to be our own are no longer here. They're invisible spaces. And so I thought it would be a great idea for a couple of the interviewees to be photographed in the Center for Arts and Culture, Black Scranton Project's newest, biggest endeavor. So that way we can start creating space and recognizing that and building our own archive and story from honestly the context of what I've learned from the history books. Building a community center wasn't new for the Black community. Telling our story, letting people know that we live here, we are a strong, robust community, even though our numbers might not be as big as Philly or New York or New Jersey. We have a community that loves the city of Scranton, that loves each other, and is very much a part of the cultural fabric of Scranton. And one thing I love about all the stories is that they all touch on a little bit of Scranton in unique ways that we never hear of, like hearing from the Welsh community, hearing from communities from different part of Latin America or just other parts of the Latin culture, just getting to know people that I've never met before and listening to their stories was really, really cool. So one piece I want to mention, because I don't want to hold the mic too long, when we get to the gallery, we curated a small exhibit that takes a little side quest, I guess to say, of this project. Julie approached me like last year and mentioned Adams Avenue. Wasn't there like a Black community over there in Adams Avenue? And I mentioned to her that there was displacement. We have our own sort of redlining story that has happened. The Black community has been shifted all around downtown and Center City since the late 1800s. And she asked if I wanted to kind of piece it together and talk about the neighborhoods and the blocks that are kind of near the University of Scranton. So when you go into the gallery, you'll see an exhibit that kind of talks about the displacement that happened, the urban renewal project that happened in the 1960s. There's some original documents from our archive that kind of show the university and how they participated in doing this study to talk about how the Black community was living here. And in 2015, I found excerpts of the document that kind of illustrated a little bit of what the Black community was doing, but I never was able to get a full picture. Someone donated that artifact to our collection, and now I'm super excited to have it on view so you guys can kind of see how the University of Scranton has participated in the city and telling cultural stories, whether it's piecemeal or in its full capacity. I love that that's the part of history that most people don't think about. You don't ever have all the pieces in front of you at once. You find something, 10 years later, you get another piece. Someone else comes up to you with a box of old photographs. We have Marianne, who's been helping me since I was in grad school. And I always find little things that we pulled out in 2017 that are relevant today, or an old email of things that we talked about that make sense now that didn't make sense then. So I'm really grateful to have you as a partner, and the Lackawanna Historical Society is a gem. So the last thing I'll say, if you have photographs or anything, don't throw them away, give them the Historical Society. Because they'll mean something to somebody someday. So thank you guys again for being here and participating. We love the city of Scranton. I'm so glad to see so many faces of people who love the city as much of all of us. So thank you again.
Thank you, Glynis. And that reminds me, too, that in each of the interviews, the photos that are part of that are either from the individual contributing from their own collection, or they're from the Times Shamrock Communication media company that we have news clippings. And then, of course, there are many photos from the Historical Society as well. So we're appreciative of that. So next up is Alejandra. As you know well, the Hispanic and Latino community is now a multi-generational community in this area, with immigrants from across Latin America making their home in Scranton for several decades. So what has been important to you about helping to curate the stories that you were part of, and also noting the changes in Scranton more generally in regard to immigrant and refugees that have come here in the last few decades?
Thank you, Julie. Well, hello, everyone. It's so nice to see all of you here tonight on a Friday night, nonetheless. So we're excited. I'm excited to party with all of you. So one of the important things that I learned throughout these interviews is awareness, right? Because we have this notion in Scranton that our immigrant population is new. And some of them are. Some of them have been here recently. But through the interviews, I've learned that there's more than one generation. There's grandparents, there's parents, and grandchildren. And all of them have been here in Scranton, not just first generation. And so it was interesting to hear the stories, how maybe the grandparents were first generation, and now their adult children have children, and both of those generations have been here in Scranton, and that they have chosen to for Scranton to be their home. But we wouldn't know that unless we engage in conversation. You don't look at somebody and you say, oh, you're first generation, second generation. You wouldn't know that. So you have to engage in conversation with your neighbors, with people at work, to learn those stories. And so I encourage you all of that to communicate with your neighbors, or to ask your neighbors, where are you from, or what's your Scranton story? And they'll be open to listening to whatever they want to share with you. The other thing is that it is evident that the immigrant population, especially from Latin America and other countries, are here to stay, not just to pass by or to come and check it out and then leave. And this is evident because we see businesses, we have restaurants, we have bakeries, we have stores. We have these businesses that are owned by our immigrant neighbors. And so, and it's not only in Southside, it is throughout the whole Scranton. So I will invite all of you, when you are walking in the neighborhoods or when you're driving by, to think about what was there before and what it is now. And that is just a testament that people are here to stay and to build community here, because the people that open the businesses are not living in New Jersey or New York. They're actually living here. So they have their home here, their children are in school here, and their businesses are here. So they are creating roots in this city. And the last thing that I'm gonna say is that it was evident through these interviews that the American dream is well and it's alive. And it is, I believe, up to all of us to welcome everyone who's coming to Scranton, because then they'll be the ones who are the historians of our city. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alejandra. So Marianne, you have been cataloging Scranton, Lackawanna County stories for a couple of decades at the Lackawanna Historical Society. So we wanted you to talk a little bit about, what the project, what this project you think means for the city.
Thank you, and thank you to each and every one of you for doing these interviews, because you have made my job so much easier. When I was asked to be on the panel, and Julie said she would, ask what the Historical Society sees this project doing, and what I see this project doing is making the connection and filling in the pieces that Glennis just mentioned, and meeting the challenge that was mentioned earlier. The Lackawanna Historical Society is more than 130 years old. We've been here for a long time, and we were actually established by the same gentleman who founded this county, Lackawanna County. They founded the county, and then almost immediately, within 10 years, said, you know what we need? We need to document and preserve the story of this county. But those same gentlemen were preserving their story, and they were recording it, and they were sending it forward. So for a long time, the Historical Society had that one story, and we told it over and over and over again. And sadly, we weren't recording the other stories that were happening alongside it. So this is starting to correct that and move us forward with a more complete picture. And I am so grateful to everyone that is involved in this project, because you are making my mission successful. So once again, thank you for that. And as far as looking forward, now that we have this amazing foundation set, we've got this diverse story that we're starting to truly tell now, we can continue it. And I see this project as a way to invite others to participate. And I'm asking you to help us by becoming more engaged with your local historical society, with groups like Black Scranton, with projects at the university like this, to participate and tell your story and keep telling it. And you can tell it in a variety of ways. This is a very formal project with oral histories and portraits and exhibits, and there's a record being written, which is what we need. But you can do this on a personal level. You can talk to your family. You can keep a journal. You can send a letter to someone and say, this is my experience in Scranton. This is what I see my city is, and this is what I hope we have for the future of our nation. So again, thanks to everyone who participated. Please keep participating. Thank you.
So we have time for just a couple of questions. We do want to get you down to the gallery so you can actually see a little bit more of what we've been talking about. But we would be happy to take a couple of questions or comments. So I think Carla is going to pass it around. So if you have a question, just raise your hand, or a comment. If it's a comment, just keep it brief. Don't be shy. I know you're not all shy in this room because we've. Any questions? Okay, here we go. No comment.
Not a question, but a comment. First of all, thank you so much, everyone, for showing up here in this club of story lovers. We appreciate you coming and watching us on that big screen right there. First of all, my presence here in Scranton is a story of survival. We came from the Democratic Republic of Congo because of war. And for that reason, you know, my father keeps reminding me all the time that, you know, he talks about this excerpt from the Bible. I'm not so good with the Bible. He says when 2 or 3 people meet, you know, God is among them. Now, since we're here, we know that there is life continuing to be lost in Israel and Palestine in the conflict right now. I just wanted to request if we can have 1 minute of a moment of silence, and then I'll have 1 minute of just talking about the stories, and then just a minute of moment of silence. Thank you. So I wanted to talk about storytelling. Storytelling is a very powerful tool, as we've heard from the director from Lackawanna Historical Society. For me as an African, stories bring me home. My father has told me about how in ancient Africa, stories were not just entertainment, it was also a form of education. It was a way skills and knowledge was passed on from one generation to the other. So I think that should be the pièce de résistance of everything we're doing today. And people sacrificing their time and effort to be part of such a, you know, very important piece that those that were involved, thank you, by the way, produced is very important, because we are, I think, sacrificing all that to be able to transfer what we know, our experiences to others, because they're going to learn from that. So yes, storytelling has a lot of meaning. There is power to it, and we should all turn into storytellers. I come across people who do not know who their great-grandfathers are. And I've heard from, again, the Historical Society here that we can tell stories to each other. So dear parents, dear grandparents, please find time with grandchildren and children. Tell them stories. That's the only way we can survive. If we can't transfer the knowledge and skills and all the good that comes with our past, there is no way we're going to have a future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My name is Sylvia Taggart, and I do not live in Scranton. However, I do visit Scranton quite a bit. This is a really beautiful mosaic and I wish this were shared with many, many more people. My question is, how do you plan on engaging people who are not here to see these beautiful people, who are not here to understand the difficulties of a man with disabilities who is proud and is beautiful and has come here to talk to all of us? How do you plan on engaging and keeping people a part of this democracy? Because I fear that we are losing so much because people are afraid of one another. People are not going into communities. People are not talking to their neighbors. So I really would like to hear from these wonderful leaders what you would like us to do in order to help engage people. I'm part of the county. I live in South Abington Township. I support my local schools despite the fact that I don't have any children. I'm engaged in wanting people to be future leaders.
Yes, thank you for that question. That's a great entree for us to say. First of all, you're all our helpers because all of these videos now are online, and we live in a digital age and we live in a Facebook age, so we want you to share them, and we will be getting all of that out, and we'll be sharing them all on social media, one by one, so it will take us about a month to just make sure that we put each one out there. The exhibit itself is open through November 17th. We're still taking groups to come. We can take classes, we can take boards of directors, we can take all sorts of groups through, so there's lots of opportunity between now and November 17th. But then the educational resource on the web will exist. We would like to do some educational kind of resources that go along. There's a lot of themes. We didn't get into sort of the analysis. That would have taken us a lot longer, but there's a lot of themes that come through in all the interviews, things that people talked about that connect, whether it's their story, whether it's their hopes for Scranton or their hopes for the nation. I also want to say that there were a lot of tissues that we had to take out during the interviews. We didn't expect that, but it happened quite a bit because when you reflect on your life and when you think about your community and you think about your nation, a lot of people got really emotional about that. But it was often a consistent theme that they got emotional when we talked about their hopes for the nation, because I do think that there's a lot of concern that people have about polarization and about division and about feeling that there's fear and also with the pandemic, we still have not totally bounced back and have gotten more used to being out in rooms like this. So I think that there is a lot of power in that, and this is one night, but we do hope to continue it. The project has to end. Scranton Story, Our Nation Story, has been going around for about 2.5 years, and our money has run out, but we want to build on this and continue. Yeah. we used it all. But there's more to come in terms of the resources, and the Weinberg Memorial Library Dean is here, and we are so glad that they will be archived, so the full interviews are archived so that the historians of the future who are coming and saying, what was Scranton like? What were people concerned about in 2023? They'll be able to find them. But definitely, I think I'll turn it back to all of you and say, please share these in any ways that you can, because that's going to help us. And then, yeah.
And one quick thing to add, Julie has been working with some school groups and different community groups and actually having them work in the round to pose these questions to one another. And that has been a very powerful thing. So this whole idea of the format of these kinds of questions has been really wonderful in helping people connect to one another and to something inside of themselves that means an awful lot to them, that maybe we don't think about on a daily basis. When you do get to the exhibition, you'll also find a booklet. Please take a booklet before you're going around, because in the booklet you'll find an abstract of each person that kind of gives an overall view of what their interview is. If you don't have time to, because each interview being 10 minutes, you'd be there till midnight. That abstract gives you a little bit of an idea that you can look around. And we'd also, because the Hope Horn Gallery is a little on the small side, we can maybe time ourselves there. Those of you that need to leave right away might want to go kind of quickly, get down there, enjoy the exhibit. Those of you that would like to stay and maybe speak with some of the panelists, I think we'll have some of the panelists stay here to be able to answer questions here. Three other panelists will go with you down to the gallery to get you started on the exhibition.
Okay, so I think we're going to close it here so that we can move on to the main event. So again, I want to thank our panelists, thank them for all the work that they've done in this project. And again, to thank the interviewees. I know we had a lot of rounds of applause, but again, so grateful for the sharing that took place in this project. So. And now we invite you down. If you have not been to the Hope Horn Gallery, we're going to have some students that will lead you, but it is literally 1 block down Linden Street, cross over Jefferson, and it's the 4th floor is the Hope Horn Gallery. So thank you all so much for being here.